and a very warm welcome to all of you joining us from across the country. Wouldn't it have been nice to be in a room together after the year and a half that we've had, to have a cup of coffee, to share our stories of happiness and success, our concerns and our passions, to just have a good laugh together. But under the current circumstances, that's not possible. And we work with what we've got, as we always do. Today, we celebrate the woman that you are in your communities, the colleague that you are in the workplace, and the daughter, mother, sister, and partner that you are in your family. We've got a great lineup for you today, and we start with our very own Andriette Tron. Andriette is the head of research at PPS Investments. She holds an honors degree in financial analysis and is a certified financial analyst. She's been in the investment management industry for 15 years, and we've invited her to share her story and her experiences of working in a male-dominated industry. Should you have any questions for Andriette, we invite you to post them in the Q&A section, and we'll cover as many of them as time allows at the end of her talk. Andriette, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to listening to you. So over to you.
Morning, everyone, and thank you for the introduction, Christine. One of the roles not mentioned on my professional bio is the role of being a mother to two young girls, age 5 and 8. This in itself is a tough job with its own challenges. It is fair to say that each one of us have multiple balls we need to juggle at any point in time. I feel privileged to be able to participate in this webinar and for the opportunity to share my story of being a female in a male-dominated industry with you. Opportunities like these force you to look back at your life and to reflect. Now, I'll be honest, I have a pretty simple and ordinary story to tell. I could, however, identify two things that's very specific, but definitely not unique to me, that not only gave me the courage to pursue a career in a male-dominated industry, but is still helping me today to succeed in this challenging environment. The first is that being ambitious in your career and having kids does not have to be mutually exclusive. So being a so-called career woman was never a strange concept to me. Growing up, my mom had a full-time job at a very large corporate. I can clearly remember how she worked some evenings after we had dinner as a family to meet deadlines. The second thing is a little bit more personal and has to do with the fact that I'm highly competitive. I played individual and team sports at a fairly high level since the age of 11. One of the biggest lessons I've learned and still practice today is that a challenge or a setback should always be used to your advantage by using the opportunity to better yourself or to be seen as an obstacle to overcome. Anyway, so I got my first taste of what I'm getting myself into when I was one of only a handful of females in my investment honors class. After a couple of years in London, I returned and joined a financial services company where I managed a team of 14 pricing specialists. And in this role, I already had to deal with gender biases, with one person refusing to report to a female. My journey within the multi-management investment space started almost 11 years ago when I joined PPS Investments as a manager research analyst. Me ending up in multi-management was no coincidence. The thing that attracted me to multi-management was the diversity or diversification is at the core of this investment approach. The aim is to include various asset managers that think differently about the world and as a result is expected to perform at different times. If it is then so important to have exposure to different perspectives, why then is the industry still so untransformed? So in my first job within asset management, I had to meet with senior portfolio managers almost on a weekly basis. In these meetings, I was expected to interrogate their investment strategies to understand the role this fund could play in a multi-managed solution. At most of these meetings, I represented the entire female gender by being the only female investment professional around the boardroom table. We used to joke about it in the team, but to be honest, it was quite intimidating at times. One thing was for sure, small talk used to be limited to mountain biking and football. Now, looking at the attendees at the meetings today, I think it is fair to say that there's been some improvement in recent years. Here, I specifically think of Sarah Jane Alexander, who was recently appointed as a co-portfolio manager for the Coronation House View portfolios, Delphine Govender, who left Alan Gray to start Perpetua Investment Managers in 2012, and Annette Ayen, who's been appointed as the CEO of PSG Asset Management after a number of senior investment roles at Sanlam. However, female representation within the industry remains low. This was also evident in our most recent recruitment drive, with the vast majority of CVs received still being from male candidates. This clearly shows that asset management is still not a common career choice for females, even at a more junior level. Now, this is not limited to South Africa. A recent study conducted by Morningstar and the CFA Institute found that only 14% of fund managers globally are female, largely unchanged over the past 20 years. That is despite other studies showing that on average, men to be overconfident and trade excessively, while women are more risk averse. The reason for the low participation rate is likely a combination of structural barriers and implicit biases, but it's got nothing to do with ability. I was quite intrigued when my 5-year-old daughter came to me about 3 months ago, telling me that she wished she were a boy. When I asked her why, she told me without hesitating that boys have more fun, and they're so lucky because they that they don't have to wear shoes to school. Needless to say, she is now allowed to go to school barefoot, even or whenever she wants to. At this moment, I once again realized that as females, we impose a lot of limiting restrictions on ourselves. I personally had to face a number of these limiting beliefs when I returned to work after my maternity leave for the first time. I quickly realized that I need to let go of certain views if I want to continue to focus on my career, which, by the way, was never up for discussion. The first is that I do not have to control or closely manage every aspect of my life. And here I specifically refer to household duties and childcare responsibilities. What I needed was a strong support system, outsource all non-core functions, and most importantly of all, to not feel guilty about it. Secondly, to be kinder to myself. Perfection does not exist. Life is indeed a balancing act. Thirdly, time is limited. So if I want to spend sufficient quality time with my family and progress in my career, I need to be very deliberate in being effective at work. And finally, there is no use in comparing myself to others. So I took the step and closed my Facebook account. This made a material difference to my mental state at the time. Even though I love what I do and I enjoy working in this industry, it is not always easy to work in an industry that is not well represented. Small things like people addressing a group as "you guys," despite me being in the group, the fact that a spa event is viewed as a social event, while a golf day is strictly business, or that a business-related hunting weekend is seen as appropriate, are items still happening today. Struggles with self-doubt is something I still deal with on a regular basis. This typically plays out when my male colleagues take advantage of an opportunity I passed on because I did not feel 120% confident in my own abilities, only to realize after the fact that I could have done a far better job. I am sure that you have also experienced this multiple times before. We all know that diverse teams, diverse in terms of background, race, age, qualification, and of course gender, deliver better results, mainly driven by more informed decision-making. So I challenge everyone on this call today to use your voice, to believe in yourself, and most importantly, to hold your own so we can effect change within this industry.
Thanks, Andriette. I don't see any questions, but I do have a question. You mentioned sport. Was it individual or team sport? And what did you learn from it? And were there any lessons that you could take further from that?
I did individual and team sports. I did hurdles and played netball. There's lots to learn from actively participating in individual and team-based sports. Things I can think of is self-discipline, how to effectively deal with pressure. I also learned from a very young age that you need to work very hard to be successful. In individual sports like athletics, you are mostly in control of your own destiny. Whereas, obviously in a team sports, you need to work with your teammates. It's very different skills and lessons that you can learn.
Hi, Erin. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
My hair.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl.
Aw.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No. Yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
My name is Dakota, and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
Thank you. Thank you. I see some of the comments there says it's unfortunately true that that's still a perception, and isn't it so? Our next speaker, thanks, Andrea. Let me just thank you for that insightful story. We've been working together for years, and then sometimes you still don't know the story behind it. So thanks for sharing. Our next speaker is Karen Daniels. Karen holds an MBA. She's a successful career woman, a life coach, and an author. Karen worked in many countries across the globe for multinationals in the gas and oil industry, as well as the alcohol beverage industry. Again, we invite you, should there be any questions, to post them in the Q&A section, and Karen will answer them where she's got some time for it. But thank you, Karen. Thanks for joining us, for taking that time out. We really look forward to listening to you. And over to you.
Thank you very much for having me today. And wow, that was an awesome video and an amazing story by Henriette. And unfortunately, we still face that today in many industries, this gender bias. And I think we really got to start talking up against it. And it's wonderful to see that you're doing that in your organization. So good morning, amazing ladies. And I really love the theme of today's event. It's really something that we need to remind ourselves about from time to time, because we do forget it, that we are amazing. I love that video. It gave me goosebumps. And I saw somebody writing girl power. We definitely need to take time out to remind each other how amazing we are and that we can actually do it. I found this quote that I wanted to share with you ladies this morning, and it's by Nelson Mandela. And he said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you are capable of living." And that's what my talk is going to be about today. It's going to be about living the life that you're capable of living, even though we are women. And I say that jokingly. So I ask you today, as I go through my talk, to reflect on your own life and to ask yourself that question: are you living the life that you're capable of living? And today I'm going to share with you a bit of my story and the 3 things that have carried me through and helped me rise above the dark moments and kept me focused on the life that I wanted to live. And they are my 3 keys, but they are nothing profound, nothing new. You've heard them all before. The first one is, you are what you believe. The second one is, turn your dreams into plans. And the third one is, keep showing up. Never quit. So my journey to living my purpose has been one with many detours and rocky paths. I've really had to rise up from the ashes of my life, not once, but twice. I learned in my life that as a woman, you've really sometimes got to dig deep and lean in and believe that you are capable of living that life you want. So I was born in the 60s, and I spent my early childhood in a colored township in Durban before moving to Cape Town with my parents and my younger brother. But by the age of 15, my dad had left. We were also struck by the depression that hit South Africa with the sanctions. And, we were in the middle of that time when the country was on transition, just that almost the post-apartheid era. And I found myself running the home with little to no money coming in. I was forced to leave school and find work to take care of my mother and my brother. But by the time I was 21, I was so weary of being this provider. I answered the call to my friends that were telling me to come to Johannesburg and to look for opportunity there. Many colored people, Black people had moved out of the smaller cities, Cape Town, Durban, etc., and moved to Johannesburg for better opportunities there. And I did the same. So the bright lights of Joburg beckoned, and off I went. And living in Hillbrow, I met this man, this captivating man, very streetwise and notorious. And his reputation of a bad boy intrigued me, as it does for many us unfortunate women that like bad boys. And he took me on this whirlwind romance, and before I knew it, I was married. But what started out as romance and roses quickly turned into a nightmare of violent abuse. He was fiercely jealous and obsessive, and he would frequently erupt into violent episodes. The slightest thing could spark him off and could spark one of his jealous rages. Not only that, he became deeply involved in a crime syndicate, orchestrating and taking part in armed robberies, yes, and cash in transit heists, which was quite a phenomenon of that era. I don't know if you can remember in the 90s, you were always hearing about a Fidelity Guards van that was robbed, etc. So it was quite a hype. And he was part of a syndicate that was doing these things. And I was mostly unaware of his activities. But I also knew better than to ask what he was up to. I feared this man more than anything or anyone else. And I knew that he was capable of absolutely anything. In fact, he always threatened to kill me if I left him. And once he held me captive one night with a .38 revolver playing Russian roulette. And I didn't know how to get out of this mess that I was in. I really got myself into a mess at this young age. And I didn't know who to turn to for help. In fact, there wasn't much help in our country at that time. There's so much more available for women today, but unfortunately, we're still talking about the same thing, and the story hasn't changed much, unfortunately. I also kept a lot of this silent because I never encountered this before. We never had this in our homes. My very much, and that was different circumstances. None of my friends ever spoke about it, so I was completely unaware of this type of thing. And also the stigma that is attached to it and still is kept me silent. And then, when I found myself hitting rock bottom, I woke up in a hospital badly beaten, and I had a fractured skull, and I almost lost my left eye. I knew that I had to get out of this mess. And what did I do? I was very young at the time. And I started to read every motivational book I could get my hands on. and about other people's stories of coming through adversity and triumphing and starting to live their best lives. And I started to focus on myself because I couldn't change him and I couldn't change my external situation. So I started to change me. I started to work on me. And what slowly started to happen was that I started to change my thinking about myself and what I was capable of doing. And Henriette mentioned something earlier. She said about believing in yourself. And that was my first key, as I said, self-belief, believing in yourself. And then one of the books that I picked up in the library was called The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. And while reading through this book, I came across this anecdote of a man lamenting to his friends about his miserable life and saying that in all his life, he's never done one thing that he's wanted to do. And that really hit me. That hit me hard because that was me. You know, I didn't want to wake up one day, 20 years down the line, and my future self was saying, I've never done anything that I've wanted to do, and I'm still stuck in this terrible mess that I was in. It awakened in me something in my inner core, my inner self. And that was more powerful than the fear and the stigma and whatever else it was that was keeping me paralyzed in this relationship. I stayed in that relationship for 6 years. I was 21 when I met him and I got married, and I was 26 when I finally left. But in the months that followed after I'd hit rock bottom, I started to reclaim my power and my courage and my self-belief. And I knew I was going to give myself a second chance at happiness and at freedom, and most importantly, a life without fear. My key number one is I started believing differently about myself. I started to believe that I was capable of a better existence and that I was allowed to catch that bus. When you say yes to yourself, you'll be amazed at what you're capable of achieving. You know, the universe, they say the universe conspires with you to give you what you want when you put it out there and you have these positive affirmations about your life. And we all have it in us to be the best that we can be and to live the life we want. But we need to walk towards that life. It's the test that tells us how much we truly believe it is ours to have. Self-belief and believing that you are allowed to live, allowed to be in that office, you are allowed to get that job, that comes first. And only I could change my life. Nobody could do it for me. I had to start walking towards the life that I wanted. A little step every day, closer to where I wanted to be. That brings me to my second key. Turning your dreams and your goals and your aspirations into plans and then getting it done. Write that stuff down. That's what I did. I have these little notebooks I still have today, and I write my stuff down. I write my dreams and my ambitions down, and then I make plans to actually get there. So what I did, I resigned from my job. We were living in Port Elizabeth at the time, and then I resigned from my job. I moved home to Cape Town to be closer to my family and to start building myself my own support base. I focused on my job and my career because I knew it was going to be my ticket to freedom. My independence, my ability to take care of myself would be my ticket to freedom. I studied and I did whatever course that the company was offering. And I grew myself in terms of my job and my career. And slowly but surely, my self-esteem, my confidence started growing as well. And that's when I started to get the strength that I needed to actually walk away from that relationship. I kept focused on what I wanted to be and where I wanted to be, rather than what was stopping me from being there. I used to do that before. I used to have all these thoughts coming to me saying why I couldn't do something. But I stopped focusing on that and just focused blindly on my goal. So when I finally walked away from that life, I had what I needed to survive. And I started working towards thriving from surviving. So I say, my message to you on my second key is design the life you want and take a step every day towards your goals and dreams. Turn those dreams into plans and check in regularly with yourself, which is what I do. Even to this day, I constantly do it, asking myself, does this support the life I'm trying to create? Is it taking me closer to where I want to be? And if not, change it. Because let's face it, we all lose focus. Life happens. We lose our way. Things derail us. And believe me, many things have derailed me in my life. And that brings me to my key number 3, is never give up. Keep showing up. Go through, go around, go over, go under, but don't give up. Because perseverance is the key to turning those dreams and plans into done and into achievements. And you must say, yes, that's all very well, but I don't have these big things to do, but you can use that formula for anything in your life. It doesn't have to be big life-changing things. Well, for many people, changing your job is a big thing. Climbing that corporate ladder, today it's still as daunting as it was then. Sometimes I feel it's even worse now. Sometimes I feel we haven't even moved an inch. Gender bias is still such a big thing. And you can use it. You can use that formula for that too. Starting a business, even writing a book. When I wrote my debut memoir, A Dangerous Love, I started 4 years ago, by the way, so it took me 4 years to finish this book. But I had to first believe that I could be a writer. I never studied anything to be a writer. My degrees that I have has got nothing to do with creativity at all. I didn't even think I had one creative bone in my body. But I had to believe that if I wanted to do this, I had to believe that I actually could. And then I had to turn that dream into a plan. I joined a mentorship group for writers. I took courses on creative writing, and I finished my first draft. But that wasn't the end of the journey. I wrote many drafts after that. And I sent my manuscript off to hundreds of publishers. And eventually, I self-published my book. And today, I can hold my book in my hand. So never underestimate the power that you have to take your life in a new direction. And I had to do it for the second time when I lost my husband, my second husband, and the father of my twins. They were 8 when he died, which was 3 years ago. And we were living in Lagos, in Nigeria. I was on assignment there for one of the multis that I was working for. And I was part of a very vibrant expat community. And there were many South Africans living there, South Africans, British, French, you name it. And we were very much a part of and entrenched in the South African community that was in Lagos at the time. And we were happy. My life was on track. I achieved most of what I wanted to. And I had these little kids, they were 8 years old at the time. And it started as any normal Friday. My husband went to drop off the kids. I went to work. And little did we know that would be the last time that we would see him. And we were supposed to meet up that evening at 9 o'clock at home because he went to the country club later on that afternoon. And I met up with a few ladies for drinks and took the kids on a play date. And when 9 o'clock came, we were home, but he wasn't there. And he was missing for 24 hours before I got the call. And this stranger called me up at 9 o'clock, and our friends were all in a frenzy looking for him. We were trying to locate him, and we knew something was wrong. And this man said to me on the phone, Mrs. Daniels, I've got very disturbing news for you. We found your husband's body. I was stunned into silence. I couldn't believe what he was saying to me. I actually didn't understand what he was saying to me. It was like he said, "We found your husband's wallet." I was like, "You found his what?" And he had to explain it to me. And I tell you, in that instant, in that one moment, my life, as I built up and as I'd known, completely shattered. It was believed that he was murdered, but who and why still remains a mystery. And probably will always, because in Lagos, that's another ball game. But after coming through all the trauma, the grieving and the anger and the disbelief of what had happened, my belief system was put to the ultimate test. I was a widow at 49 with 2 8-year-olds. Definitely not what I signed up for. Absolutely not. So where did I start? But one thing I knew, this was not the time for a breakdown and to say why me and why did this happen to us. I had to carry us through. I had to once again build my life up from the ashes of my old life. But as human beings, we are truly resilient, and especially as women, we really are stronger than we think, and we can do whatever we put our minds to. We can't always control what happens to us, but we most certainly can control how we actually deal with it and how we respond to it. Before that tragedy, I knew who I was, I knew what I wanted, I knew where I was going, we had our plans, we had our life. And after that, I had to rethink who I was. I had to hold on to that dream, and I had to make new plans, and I had to keep showing up. I had to create a new set of beliefs about who I was, because the old set no longer worked. I was no longer a wife. We were no longer your conventional family of 4. My kids didn't have a father anymore. I was single at 49 and with 2 small kids. What were my chances? Wow. So I had to create a new set of beliefs about who I am and what I was capable of. I had to change the plan, but I never changed my goal. My goal has never changed from the day I was 21 and from the time I found myself in that scary mess the first time. And that was to live a life of passion and meaning. And in closing, I'd like us to reflect on our achievements, the highs in our life, where we've come from and what we've achieved, as well as our trials, our tribulations, our losses, our failures, because we've come through them. Sitting here today, we've all come through them. And to remind ourselves that we are truly amazing. We can be whatever we want to be. We can design the lives we want. Check in with ourselves. I want us to remember to check in with ourselves daily and see whether we're still on track to creating the life that we want and that we're capable of living. And to know that it starts with self-belief. Number 1, believing that you can be whatever you want to be, no matter your age, no matter your circumstances. Design the life you want. Write that stuff down. Turn your dreams into plans. Turn those plans into actions. And never, never, never give up. Never give up on something you really want. Life is fragile. Life can change in a split second. Be grateful for the lives we have. Tell ourselves every day how amazing we are. And grab your life with both your hands and make it count. It's never too late to do the things that you thought that you would always have done by now, or that you wish that you would always be having been done by now. It's never too late to do it. I'd like to leave you ladies with this last word and a quote by Julia Cameron. It's from her book, The Artist's Way. And it says, whatever you think you can do or believe you can do, begin it. Action has magic, grace, and power in it. Thank you for listening, ladies. Are there any questions?
Hi, Karen. There's one in the Q&A section where someone's just asking, where can they get hold of your book?
My book is available on Take a Lot at the moment as a paperback, and it's on all the Amazons around the world as an ebook and as a paperback. And in mid-August, it will be available at most bookstores.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there's no other questions, we will now play a short video by this inspiring young African-American writer, which I'm sure we've all heard of. She's a writer, poet, activist, and game changer, Amanda Gorman.
Today, everyone's eyes are on us as we rise. In this hour, it is our fine duty to find the beauty in rooting for other women so they too know we are not victims. We are victors, the greatest predictors of progress. We press for change. We push on and act on our responsibility to bring visibility to the most vulnerable, to bring freedom to those who didn't have a choice, to bring volume to those who dare to use their voice. Because it is her strength, her story, and her spirit which inspires other vital voices to speak up when they hear it. So let it be said that light will be shed when our world is led by leaders ahead of the headlines, the voices on the front line, these first women who stand up, knowing the wind not by where it is, but by where it is blowing, leading the world not by where it is, but where change is going. We all leap forward when one woman tries and she defies with her rallying cries, here lies but does not rest, the best of tested women who call us all to rise, speaking our truth in this finest hour. That to their own power, every single woman is entitled. But it's how our power empowers others that makes women's voices so vital.
Thank you so much, Karen, for that amazing talk. And thank you for that video. I do recall that video at the inauguration. She is an amazing woman, that. Ladies, I just want to thank you for joining us today at this webinar. Karen, there was a few things that resonated with me, with your chat, and I think with a few of us ladies in the audience as well. And the first thing that I wrote down was turn your dreams into plans. I mean, I think that's just so amazing. It's something that we all need to do. The other thing that resonated with me is always show up, never quit. And I think we all need to hear that as ladies. We have been so resilient in the times that we've been faced with, the first wave, the second wave, the third wave, the riots in KZN. We have just been through so much as women. And it's so important for all of us to remember that. We must always show up. We must never quit. We must be so grateful. We must never give up. And lastly, when you said change the plan and never the goal, I just think that is so, so important. And it's so important to hear those things, Karen. I think this is what we all needed. I think all the ladies in the audience agree with me on that. And thank you for your chat. It was an inspiration, Karen. Thank you so, so much. And if I can just say to the ladies in the audience, a thank you to you for joining us today, spending an hour with us. I know your days are extremely busy. Remember one thing, ladies. Remember you are brave, you are beautiful, you are strong, and you are loved. And lastly, you are resilient. We are all resilient. And thank you for sharing this day with us. And thank you for your support to PPSI. It means a lot to us. And have a good week further. Have a good Women's Day weekend. Enjoy. I hope you get lots of spoils on Monday on Women's Day. And yes, thank you for taking time out. How can we get in contact with you?
Hi, you can email me on kaybdaniels@gmail.com. I have an Instagram page, and it's called My Crazy Life. And I'm under Karen Veron Daniels on Facebook and on Instagram. Karen Veron Daniels. That's my maiden name. And thank you, ladies, for all the wonderful comments. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here with PPS. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Karen. And ladies, if there's nothing else, enjoy the rest of your day. I also just want to say a big thank you to Andrietta as well. It was an awesome talk, Andriette, and thank you for sharing your story with us. I mean, I've worked with Andriette for the last 4 years, and it was just so nice to hear from her. You know, she's also got 2 little girls and got two daughters. And just to hear her story. Thanks, Andrietta, as well. Have a lovely day further, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Hang in there.